Hello, my name is Sean Allison. I'm the President and CEO of the Manatee County Family YMCA, and I'm privileged today to come and present a video about a very unique individual, a very special individual named Todd Williams. Todd worked for the YMCA. Todd was employed at Manatee Y Tech, a school that reaches out to kids who don't do well in typical educational settings, at-risk, high-risk individuals. Todd's story is very unique, as you're going to see. You're going to hear from a lot of people that were in Todd's life. Todd was the kind of person that let you be who you say you were. If you're the kind of person that says you care for others, that you want to help people, then Todd gave you that opportunity. He was a very determined young man, had a lot of struggles growing up. He had at times where he had no home. He had to struggle for the basics, just to survive, a life of crime when he was young, and then he was determined to change all that. And his success would be the success that anyone would dream of having. Went through college, two majors, played college football for a national championship team, went on to the NFL, and then returned back to his home in Bradenton to work with kids. He's a very special individual, as you're going to see from family and friends. And no matter who you were in life, if you were a college football coach of a nationally ranked team, if you're a guidance counselor in a school, a high school coach, a friend, a person at church, when Todd Williams came into your life changed for the better. He blessed a great deal of people. And it's my privilege to offer this testimony to a life well lived. Todd Williams.
I've been knowing Todd Williams ever since we was young kids back at Rogers Project. They call it the concrete jungle. And we used to play football, run around, play knick-knock on people's door, and do a lot of stuff. So I've been knowing him at least about 21 years.
When I met Todd, he was actually living with his grandmother, and his grandmother was a very huge part of Todd's life. She was probably the central core of his being. His mother, he never really met his father, and he died when Todd was a young man, but he never really knew him. And his mother was just not able to care for him. So his grandmother was his caretaker, took care of him.
I knew Todd's grandmother, and some other friends of my mom. We all was just friends. Those ladies really believe in prayer, and I just had a desire just to hang around them. So Todd's grandmother and we would go to church and a group of ladies, they would pray at during my lunchtime rather. And I remember Todd's grandmother many times. She would ask the Lord to be with her grandchildren. She would actually call Todd's name. Anyway, he had some issues as a young child, but he could always hang on to his grandmother for support. And unfortunately, when she died, and she died, and his whole world fell apart. They had told him they were going to put him, I believe, in foster care. And he'd heard all kind of stories about different issues in foster care. So my understanding is at that point, he fled to actually Miami to get away from foster care. And as he would probably tell you, did some foolish things down that way. But when he came back, he was able, I think, to live with one of his aunts, perhaps. I don't know for sure, but he came back, and that's how he got back into our system. I always had just hope in my heart that knowing what we were saying to Todd and talking to him about he could change, that his life he can be a part of something great if he just make a decision to make the right choices in his life. But I'll never forget this moment with Todd. As a school truant officer, we was stationed at the school board office, and one morning I arrived at work to check in, to pick up my county car. And outside the county office, Todd was standing there, and he looked at me. And he said, Miss Barb, he said, I'm ready to get back in school. And I looked at him, I said, really? He said, yeah. So I checked in and I just said, give me a minute. And I went to pick up my keys and I transported Todd to Southeast High School.
Todd often tells people that he couldn't have gotten where he is or couldn't have done the things he's done without the people around him. But being one of the people around him, the blessing is ours. It was so little what we did for him. It's what he's given back to us. I was a counselor at Southeast High School when Todd was in attendance there. I wasn't Todd's counselor, I was a counselor there. And my very good friend was Todd's counselor. So as I began to share time and talk with her, I then began to know Todd Williams. I was amused by him often. He was always in Miss Bishop's office. And he was a funny kind of a person, would show up in the morning for bananas, show up in the middle of the day for Snickers, and always had a good word and a fun word, and would leave and go back to class. And from being the person that wasn't Todd's counselor, but was sitting on the side, I just saw this great guy that would come in and out, say something really funny, bring us to laughter, and leave and go back. Little did I know what happened with Todd when he left school or when the bell rang and school was over.
I met Todd when he was just barely 17. I was a friend of Coach Meckley from Southeast High School, and Coach Meckley knew that I managed an apartment complex. And he called me one day to tell me that he knew of a young man that didn't have a place to live, that was basically homeless and living on the street. And he was wondering if there was any way that we could somehow get him off the street and get him into an apartment. At that time, Todd wasn't old enough to sign a lease, but we worked it out that he was able to get an apartment, and he was responsible for paying quite a large amount of rent at that time for a teenager. And what Todd did was he worked 2 part-time jobs. He went to school, he played and practiced football, and he just was basically on his own.
Basically how I met Todd was through high school football. We played high school football together at Southeast High School back in the mid-90s. What really drew me close to Todd was the simple fact that he was raising himself. He had a team meeting one day to tell us Todd's situation, and Meg told us that when Todd go home, everybody's home. You know, when Todd leave, everybody's gone. So, you know, how most high school kids come home, there's, you know, a mom, a dad, some just a mom, some just a dad, some a grandma. But, you know, ain't too many high school athletes come home to an empty house every day, and they are their sole provider. So when Mac told us the story, you know, I pretty much reached out to Todd, and from now on, you know, anything I had, he had.
What changed, well, he got involved in football, something active. You know, like me, Irvin, Miss Roby, Miss Bishop, Miss Joanne, Miss Timmons, Mark, you know, all those guys, me, Irvin, all that. We stuck in there with them, me and Irvin. And so us 3 got real close. They used to call us the 3 Musketeers. I guess once he got to know us, man, we was there to support him. Tell him, you know, man, you know, you need to, you know, chill out with your anger. He had a real anger problem. I guess because, you know, the background he was going through, and, you know, he lost his grandma. All he had left was the streets to go through. You know, that he just built up with anger. And, you know, football is the best way to get anger out. And, you know, he did a good job by doing that through high school. You know, it's been a couple of times we'll be working out together, me, him, and Irvin, that Paul Meckley had to run us out the weight room. He's coming and say, hey, boys, it is 6 o'clock, and the weight room closed. And he had to run us out a couple of times. But I think what changed him was he just as time came, I guess he grew older and wise about things. And he got involved. Once he got involved in football, and what he was doing before wasn't making no change.
When he was his junior year, well, it was actually his junior and his senior year, when he was a player for me, I always had a policy that if you graded out at a certain level, if you put somebody on their back so many times each week, you would get to go out to dinner with me. Well, there was no doubt. Todd was fighting for survival. He was basically homeless at a young age after his grandmother passed away. So we would try to help him, and with the other coaches, Coach DeLaser, his mom was in charge of the Salvation Army and soup, the soup kitchen and the shelter, and so she would give us food, and we would take it to his apartment. And then we always knew I could always count on he was going to go out to dinner with me on Thursday nights, and then Friday nights was our pregame meal, and I knew he was going to get a chance to get a good meal that night. And then Saturdays to try to help him carry over until we were able to get him some groceries for the rest of the week, Monday through Thursday. I would try to give him some money, and I wanted to make sure that everything was legal, so he would cut my lawn. Even after he graduated and he first got drafted by the Tennessee Titans, he came back to my classroom and visited me, and he was all excited. He got his opportunity to go with the Tennessee Titans, and he said to me, he said, "Coach," he said, "when I make it big, I'm going to come back and pay you." And I said, "Todd, I don't want your money." I said, "I'm just so proud of you. All I want you to do is give back. What I did for you, I want you to be able to do for other kids." And that was a special moment we had, and to this day still chokes me up. But but what he did do, he said, until I could do that, he said, "Coach, here's my jersey," and I still have it hanging in my game room. He autographed it, and so and he's done that over the years. He's come back. Even after his, while he was playing with the Tennessee Titans, he always made it a point to come back, and I always did a summer camp, a lineman camp, and he would always come back and volunteer to just come out there and help coach the camp and work with the kids and try to inspire the kids and talk to the kids and just tell them where he came from and what he was able to accomplish and just share his stories. And it was so it had such an impact on those kids, and they were so appreciative of that. And and that's all I ever asked of Todd, and he held true to that wish that I had asked for. And to this day, he still does it. He comes back to whichever program I've been at. He's always been there and trying to positively influence the kids. And and our friendship is now a friendship. It's no longer a coach-player relationship. We're friends. He's an adult now, and he's a fine man, and he's turned into an outstanding man. And like I said, he's a dear friend of mine, and that friendship will never end, and we'll always have that bond that started when he was a young kid at Southeast High School.
I think it was when he was a junior in high school that I first met Todd. Youth for Christ, at that time we were overseeing the student-led Bible clubs in the county, and we had a special meeting for the leaders of those clubs to join together and just share some ideas and to just create vision for that next year there at the school, their outreach in the school. And Todd came to that as he was one of the leaders of the Bible club at Southeast High School. And we had a good time sharing ideas, like I said, and had a time to pray. And it was after that meeting that I got a chance to personally meet Todd. I'll never forget how tall he was, how big his hands were, and I thought, man, this is just a big guy, and realized that he was a football player, and started talking to him, and in those moments realized he had a deep passion for God, and he was fully dedicated his life to serving the Lord, and really had a desire to share his faith with his classmates. And so we prayed together, and I was just really taken back about the depth of his love for God. And like I said, the maturity that he showed too. And it's interesting because as I asked him, I said, "Todd, how can I pray for you?" And he said, "Mr. Mike," he said, just pray for me, the girls won't leave me alone. You know, of course, a few of us that were there started laughing, but he was serious. He said, you know, I just want to be strong and not to give in to temptation and to live a pure life. And I was really impressed with Todd that day. And so probably in the past 5-6 months, Todd has had many opportunities here locally to share at schools, the juvenile detention centers, at churches and neighborhoods with young people, his story and what God has done for him. And it's really neat to see the faces of these kids who hear Todd and how it impacts their lives. And I know that he's made a difference in a lot of people's lives. He's really an inspiration to anybody who hears his message, but also watches his life. And I'm just happy to be a part of Todd's life. He has a lot of people that love him, a lot of people that believe in him, and I know God's going to use him in big ways as he's just faithful to walk it out each day and to share his story with the world around him.
So during his senior year was probably the time that I came to know Todd the most, or got really close to Todd. He, I knew, was looking to get a scholarship. I knew because I was at Southeast what a great football team we had. It had been, those were the years where every year you had students going off and going here and going there, and I had people in my part of the alphabet that were flying around doing college visits, and so Todd was interested in Florida State, and I knew that that's where Todd wanted to go. I didn't know at that time that that was the only place Todd really wanted to go, but I knew at that point during his senior year that Florida State was where he wanted to go.
And so one thing I remember that was important, other than him making his grades, I told Todd, I said, Todd, you know, to get to FSU, you've got to have a qualifying score on those college boards. And those are not easy tests, and a lot of students struggle getting that passing score. Because his grades looked like they were doing pretty good, and it looked like, you know, he's getting bigger and stronger and seemed to be doing really well with his football. So there's a test called it's PSAT. It's a preliminary test to the SATs. And I said, Todd, really, it would help you to take that test because it's not going to count to get into college, but it'll give you an idea kind of what the tests are like. So I said, okay. So I got a waiver for him because he didn't have any money. So I got a waiver for him. So anyway, so he did pretty good on the PSAT test. And then it came time for the real college boards. And as it worked out, it didn't surprise me, but he took the test, and he was so proud because he came and he said, guess what? I said, did you get it? He says, yes. I said, did you tell Coach Beckley? He said, oh yeah, I talked to Coach. So needless to say, getting that score opened the door for him because obviously without the score you can't go to the big time colleges. So, and then high school graduation, of course, was a thrill because he got his scholarship. One thing was kind of interesting. He had gotten his scholarship from FSU. And in the spring, they're having like signing day. And all the students, all the football players that got a college scholarship, they all gathered in the cafeteria for pictures, and it was a big deal. They all signed their names. And so Coach had told me that, you know, all the families come for pictures and the papers there and everything. So I went down there to watch it, of course, because I really liked Todd. And there was nobody there for Todd. There was no family there. So it was so interesting to me because I sat next to Todd because we had become really, you know, good friends, and I was really thrilled for him. But it was an emotional moment for me because Todd actually had that really cool scholarship with Bobby Bowden's signature and everything on it. And so it says, you know, everybody signed their scholarship, so Todd signed his name, and without hesitation, there's 2 lines down that it says parent, and he signed his name and didn't even blink. You know, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, here he is. He's done so well, and he doesn't have any family here. So it was kind of an emotional moment for me because I was feeling sorry for him, but thrilled at the same time. So
at the end of his senior year, we had a graduation party for him at my parents' home. And so Todd came, and the bishops came, and my children were there. And within minutes, my entire family got to meet and fall in love with Todd the same way I had, and the same way Sally's family had. And he entertained us. He did card tricks for my children and Sally's children and cousins. He spoke about some of the things he had been through, but mostly Todd, at that time, you wouldn't know how hard and how much he wasn't given. You only knew what he gave to you by the time you spent with him.
Actually, Todd, where I've seen you come from, when I first met you in that classroom several years ago, you've come from a child, actually a young man child, that was very angry with the world and very frustrated with what was going on in your life. And as you've progressed and grown and done so many wonderful things, I am so proud of the way you have turned out. I am so thankful that you are a part of our lives, my family's life, and I'm so glad that you have shared all of your stories and your strength with everyone that you've come in contact with, and I certainly wish you well and all the things that you pursue and all the lives that you touch so that you can help somebody else come along and encourage them to do well also.
Todd, we thank God. Your grandmother's prayers has been answered. She asked him to do something great in your life, and you have allowed God to do just that.
Yeah, I want Todd to know and to always remember that we love him, that we believe in him, and we're always here for him. No one's perfect, and we all need people around us to help us, to hold us accountable and to lift us up when we need an extra hand. And to let Todd know that the Youth for Christ, we're a family that is always going to be there for him.
Todd, hey, you know I love you, man, and hey, keep up the good work, man. I always tell him, hey, keep your head up high. You know, everything gonna fall in place.
I'd just like to say to Todd that I'm very proud of you. I'd like to just let you know that I love you and that I am looking back on what you've been able to accomplish over the years. I'm just amazed that you did not give up, that you made a decision that you wanted to turn your life around, and that you took step by step and did what you needed to do. Not always making perfect decisions, but making right decisions and never giving up and moving forward. And what you've been able to accomplish with what you've done and with the help that the community has done, and to be able to have the desire and to give back to your community, that your faith in God and your faith that God has a plan for you, that you have, you've just made me so proud, and I'm very grateful to be able to be a part of your life.
You know, you're a great guy. What you accomplish basically is telling everybody and anybody that's walking this earth, there's no excuse. Basically, this man went from nothing, you know, didn't know when his next meal was gonna come, you know, didn't have to go to school because he didn't have nobody sending him. He just got up every morning, went. I'll be like, man, what you accomplished is amazing. I'm proud of you, I love you, and keep doing what you're doing.
If Todd were here right now, I would look him and say, thank you. You are a blessing to me. I have been so touched and so changed by getting to know you. And I would hope that that I have given something to you, but more importantly, the impact of you on my life changes me daily. There's not a day that I don't, that I know that God puts people in your lives to then help you. And I feel like that because God let me know Todd and be a part of Todd, Todd, you changed me. You changed my perspective on things. You changed my ability to believe in what really can happen and to trust and have the faith that God can make the changes that he needs to make. Todd, you are amazing. I cherish the memories. I love the laughs and the good times. And I think that this community is a changed place because of Todd Williams, because we got a lot of little Todds out there, and they need to see you and to have your influence and to know that they can make a difference and that they don't have to accept the circumstances they're in. It's what you say all the time. You know, you just got to keep moving on. You don't look back. You don't have to accept. You just keep being a better person, and you put your faith in God. And Todd, you are an amazing, amazing person.
Todd told me growing up in Florida was one of the worst experiences, but also one of the best experiences. He told me that no matter whatever he went through, he always looked up to God and asked for help. And he told me to never give up on what I believe in. Always chase your dreams. Always love yourself. Never doubt yourself. Don't forget who you are to become somebody you're not. He told me to just keep my eyes forward on the path and just stay focused. Because believe it or not, no matter how hard times are, you're gonna always make it through. And Todd told me that. And when he shared his life story with me about what he went through to get to where he was, that impacted me very hard, sir. So, Todd, if you was here today, I would tell you I love you, and I hate to see you gone, Todd. I really do.